the Youtini Show, your one-stop shop for all things going on in Star Wars. I'm Eric here, as always, with Wes and JG, and we got a lot to talk about. Well, a couple things, but a lot about them. Because everyone, the Mandalorian and Grogu official trailer is finally here. Tony Gilroy takes the gloves off in a brand new interview, and Han Solo dominates the Star Wars Unlimited Regional Championship. But to start us off tonight, we got to get back to almost a full week ago to the official trailer drop for The Mandalorian and Grogu. Now, sure, we've gotten teasers before, but on Tuesday, you could say that the true marketing for the film really began as we got our most full look at the project thus far. Now, last week, we gave our predictions for the trailer and what we wanted to see, because unfortunately, the whole thing dropped about 12 hours after our episode. Now, if you somehow haven't seen that trailer, pause the show right now. We won't be offended. Go check it out. Come back. All right, good? Cool. All right, so fellas, I have been probably the most critical of the marketing for this movie so far, so I'm going to hold my opinion on this trailer for a little bit. But JG, I want to start with you. What did you think of our first real, official, full-length, proper trailer for The Mandalorian and Grogu?
Simply, this is the way. Like, I am so excited.
I
said it. In that short little teaser that they gave us, I got what I wanted already, which was the music. But then even now seeing the full trailer, the full music and everything was all there. And I think we have a good rough idea of what we're going for this movie. The visuals looked incredible. There was the humor. There was adorableness. It gave us everything that we loved from, I think, a lot of people really loved from the first season and some of the second season. And so I think it's just a true return to form for this mini franchise in Star Wars.
Excellent. Thumbs up all around. Wes, what about you? What do you think?
I thought it was great. I thought it kind of gave us a little, I guess, a skeleton outline maybe of what actually will be in the movie. I did like how they used the Hutts as prominent big bads, if they are big bads, right? And then there's a lot of little Easter eggs that they added in there that really got some of the Clone Wars fans all like hyped up, especially one part that we can get into later. But one of my predictions was correct. I saw some force powers going on, and him and Grogu learning well. So
you sure did,
because I knew he was gonna do it anyways. But I wanted him to. I wanted to feel like he was learning, and you could see the power really like working within him, and the force is actually growing inside him.
That's awesome. So that's two. How
about you, Eric?
Y'all, I don't know. I want to make it 2 out of 3, or 3 out of 3. Sorry, I want to make it a 3 out of 3. So I will. We got a movie. This is a movie, everybody. We did it. Why wasn't this the first trailer? Anyway, this was so good. Everything I wanted. I watched it multiple times when it came out, and I realized that's the first look we've had where I've wanted to immediately, once it was done, restart it and watch it again. This was exciting. It had form. It looked expensive in places, which, yes, is important for a Star Wars movie. It needs to look big budget. It had multiple planets. It had multiple characters. And we got an arc, like you guys were saying, of what the movie is about. Din Djarin and Grogu are brought on by the New Republic to take down some bad guys that are basically trying to start another war with the rebellion, now the Republic. Great. That's a story. We got some big bads with the Hutts. And like you said, Wes, even if they're not the big bads, they are big and they are bad. So close enough. We got to see some more characters. We got a lot of action scenes. And it looked polished. This didn't look like a TV show that they've put on the big screen. I think seeing this trailer now, next time I go to the movies, whether that be for, I'm not going to see Scream this week. I know JG will, but JG will see it in front of Scream this week, which will be great. Yeah. Whenever I go see this in the big screen, it's going to be so exciting because this looks like it's made for the big screen. Let's hit that one moment, though, that, Wes, you already mentioned. A great character reveal who I believe we had heard was in it before, but I had forgotten. Embo from the Clone Wars. Big hat mercenary. Bounty hunter. What'd you guys think of our first look at Embo in live action?
I like Embo. I like Embo because he's intimidating. He's suspicious. Like he doesn't say a lot, right? but he's the Kung Lao of Star Wars with that hat, right? That's in
Ooh,
Mortal
yes,
Kombat.
yes, absolutely.
Nice. Yeah, it's just incredible. I think, well, too, like he's got that like swagger that like Cad Bane has, and now to see that like he is gonna be in live action, it's so cool, especially for us who like Clone Wars kept us going in our fandom, and like we were watching them when we were young and such. It's so cool to see these characters coming to life, and it feels natural and fitting. Like it doesn't feel like this is like, oh, we're just gonna pick like some super popular fan favorite character and just plop him in. Like, no, this feels very earned, especially with where we know where he is at this time period. For those who know, in the aftermath and all that, it makes sense, and it's very cool.
Yeah, fan service has gotten such a dirty connotation in the last 5 years or so because it has been used incorrectly in a lot of Star Wars projects. We can own up to that. There's been places where it's been shoehorned here and there where it maybe didn't work. This works so perfectly. A bounty hunter bringing in the Mandalorian to the Hutts. Hutts use bounty hunters all the time. Embo is around, like you say. That works fantastically. And a lot of the stuff that we saw in this trailer makes sense for where it is. We have Zeb because he is part of the New Republic. He was a key member of the rebellion in the Ghost Crew. Of course he's going to be high ranking here. That makes a lot of sense. It's why Luke Skywalker in season 2 was such an amazing moment. It was a surprise, but oh my God, who is the Jedi in the galaxy that would hear Grogu's call? That it absolutely fits. Like that's what makes Star Wars fan service great. And I think we're going to be seeing a lot of that. Another moment I really loved that I thought was surprising. I'll take ownership of this. I thought this was not going to happen because we got Pedro Pascal face.
Oh yeah. Oh
Twice.
yeah. In the
Market
trailer.
that face.
Yes.
Dude, more I don't want to necessarily go through the math on this. So someone in the comments correct me if I'm wrong. I feel like we saw more of his face in this trailer than we did in season 3.
Probably.
Yeah.
Like I mean, he was on set. He was like this is the Mandalorian. He is the character. He looks great. Yes, of course, but he's also actually getting to act. Like you I don't know. I felt like I realized I missed him so much in this show. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it gives some personality, I guess, to the Mandalorian. And in the shots that were in the trailer, it was him he's just like stone faced. He knows there's some serious going on. He's on his knees, right, being probably interrogated by Embo. So like it gives like, because you can't see facial expressions in the Mandalorian's helmet, right? So this helps out a lot to see like what he's going through, what his emotions are. So I'm excited to see like how long is he going to be acting with his helmet off, and I hope.
Yeah.
Like,
well, we think Embo takes it off of him, right? So he or like in front of the hut. So that's clearly like a move,
that's
interrogation, an intimidation, a power move of some sort. Like there is a way to strip him of his ability and his authority by taking that off, which is interesting. But then he also has it off when he's fighting like the giant snake thing, which is also great, guys. Aliens.
Yes.
The creatures in this trailer, man.
The puppetry too.
The
Because a lot of that, some of it was puppets for sure, which is really cool to see.
good.
Yep, and him fighting Stinky on what I somehow hadn't realized before this because we'd seen that arena fight.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that's basically just a big Dejarik board.
Yeah.
Didn't know that.
I didn't know that either.
Wes didn't know either. Yes, I saw that moment.
I didn't either, but then once somebody called it out, and then I saw a couple movies this past weekend, and they were showing that longer trailer that I think they showed in front of Avatar or something.
Yeah, that has the fight at the end of it.
And that was my first time seeing it, and it had that long fight scene. And I think those are just literally like the actual proper like alien monster things that are actually the play pieces and in the game. So I thought that was actually really cool.
Oh yeah. That makes sense about how jacked how Jack Grogu and Stinky the Hut Stinky is. Like he looks like he'd be a claymation figure.
Yeah. I mean, it's wizard chess. It's Star Wars wizard chess is what it is. Like they made a life-size board. They made actual aliens that are the size of those things. That's very exciting. One other thing I want to talk about that is a smaller moment is that deck of cards that we get. So we have a moment where Din Djarin and Grogu says, we'll take out every bad guy in your deck of cards, right? Very cowboy kind of motion. That tells us a little bit about the story, gives it some context. That, for fun fact, for book fans, again, going back to our roots as a Star Wars book podcast, that is a direct reference to Dr. Chris Kempshaw's Rise of the Galactic Empire, the in-universe kind of nonfiction book written by Beaumont Kin. Is that right?
Yeah, that's
I believe. But Beaumont Kin wrote that. The historian about Rise of the Galactic Empire. That was a thing that Chris Kempshall created. That is now coming into the films. After the fall of the Empire, they put a sabacc deck full of high-profile targets to the Republic to people to take them out. So that is, again, books coming into film in a very direct way. Very awesome. That's some sicko stuff, too. That is an in-universe reference book that is now being used. So I think that really tells us some
whole thing. Like, I have a theory that I think that she's working Sigourney Weaver and not
under the radar.
Yes. And not
off
actually,
the books, under the radar.
Thank you. That's what I'm going for.
Yeah.
That it's actually not sanctioned, and that this is all like hush hush, basically, especially with like what we've seen in the Mandalorian, and that there is like this small group that is rising up, which will probably become the Resistance. That were like, yo, like there's all this problems out here, and the New Republic is just looking the other way.
Yeah, I think there's definitely something to that. Like sending out sanctioned assassinations is interesting. And I want to know what Sigourney Weaver's plot in it all is. I'm sure that'll blow up. But I think I can see the 3X structure growing from this. Like we said, the difference between a teaser and a trailer is the teaser gives you the vibe, the trailer gives you the story. And this is exactly where we're going. I think it ends with them, with their blasting off together. Grogu's in his little pram, and the Mandalorian's with his jetpack, and it's like, all right, the adventure movie is coming in the summer. Get ready for it. And as Dale said in the chat, JG, this was ahead of schedule. So
yeah,
I think we're on a good trajectory here. I want them to capitalize on this because, man, I could not have been more impressed. I am on board with this movie again.
Yeah,
very excited.
And not to get greedy, I expect one final trailer right before, like right towards maybe early April now, maybe. But yeah,
I'd say at least that. Honestly, they could go more like. I don't know. This feels like it has the stakes of a Star Wars movie. Also, not that they mean anything, of course, but the comments on the YouTube video, pretty much all positive. People were very excited about it. That Super Bowl fiasco, it is not great. This really worked, regardless of if you like that spot or not. People really like this trailer. It's out there. People were talking about Star Wars again. It's exciting. So, well done, everybody. We want to see more of it. Again, make sure you go check it out if you haven't. Go watch it again. Go to your local cinemas and make sure that you see it because I'm sure it'll be on the big screen sooner rather than later.
Before we get off, there was a shot of Grogu. Like, it looked like he was walking. And I'm not sure if it was Dagobah or not, but he was walking through something that looked like Dagobah Cave with a staff. And then, like, right after that, I think he put on his little Mandalorian armor. And I was
was
oh,
swampy.
Awesome.
It was swampy.
I want to say about that too, also that so like I know and I accept that Grogu is gonna be like part of this franchise moving forward and a massive main character. Like I get that, especially with like the whole age of it all. But seeing that shot where with him walking with the stick and then watching him meditating afterwards, for some reason those two shots alone just got me super hyped and excited for whatever the future of this character is.
Yes,
and that is incredible. That just two single moments there. From a trailer, not even the movie itself, but from a trailer, which those scenes could be cut and we never see them actually, but those scenes alone got me excited for the future of whatever is going to happen with Grogu in the next decade and beyond.
Yeah. Well, because I think as Star Wars fans, especially as Star Wars books and comics fans, we have the gift. I think as books and comics fans, we really do have a great privilege in that we get to see decades down the road and centuries ahead and behind and all this stuff because of the various projects. I want Grogu to become an actual character that we can see in a book that takes place 200 years from now. Like, I want to see what that happens. And if this movie can be that jumping off point where he kind of transcends from meme back into character, because he started character, became meme, and now I think if they can reclaim that and make him interesting with those kind of scenes of quietness, with him tapping into the life force of the galaxy, I think we got a good shot. So, if nothing else, everybody, no crash out this week. I'm back.
When does Grogu start like growing up? When do they change out? When do they change out Grogu for an adolescent? What a great
question, dude.
For an adolescent Grogu, right? When does he get a little bit bigger? When does he? Because
Ray's movie.
Well, if he's 50 as a baby, like, is it like between 57 and 59, they like shoot up to like a teenager?
Yeah.
Like, or if it's this gradual, if the first 50 years are nonverbal, that's like what, the first 2 years of a child? So if 2 years is 50 years, like it's gonna be 500, it's gonna be 10. Like, yeah,
maybe they already started making like his stature a little bit bigger, and we just been watching it for so long we don't actually notice. And he's like grown. Man. He's grown half an inch since we've seen him in season 1, right? So we're like, he's actually been growing. You just can't tell.
We know what adult Yoda and Yaddle look like. He's not too far off.
I mean, real I don't think the height is the worry about that. I don't know. Bundle of Owls in the chat. Teenage Grogu. I want to see it. Is he going to go through an emo phase? What's he going to do? But he's learning a lot, and I do hope we get to have a more mature Grogu over the years. I think though we won't, practically, just because it'll have to be a hundreds and thousands of years time jump. But in the books, we totally can. So I'm hoping for that. Stay tuned, because I would like them to do that if they keep making Star Wars books. Because man, listen, I'm glad y'all love them. I really enjoy watching them or reading them. Canon Book Club, y'all just talked about the last one. Those Goodreads numbers gotta get a little higher, I think, because man, I don't know who's reading these Star Wars books, but they're not on Goodreads. So buy your Star Wars books and get us some adult Grogu in the future. Now, everybody, we've been talking quite a bit about the Mandalorian and Grogu over the last few weeks, but you know what really hasn't been in the news? Andor. I mean, sure, the show ended last year, but it felt like we were getting multiple Tony Gilroy interviews every single week for what felt like months. And good news, folks, we just got another one. Because this week, the Andor creator sat down with a Hollywood Reporter to give, quote, the interview he couldn't during the show's release. He revealed that Disney told him to steer away from the word fascism initially, but now that the gloves are off, he really goes all in, specifically on how the United States has been reflecting the show through the actions of ICE and the federal government. So, I guess I'll start off to ask a question, guys. Did we realize that Gilroy was actually holding back all that time last year?
No, I
didn't.
He said a lot.
Yeah. I caught about I read about half or maybe like a quarter of the interview, and he went off like his hands weren't tied anymore. He didn't have to worry about somebody looking down on him, or he was gonna be like he's gonna be ridiculed for what he said. Like he's out there solo and just letting like everybody know how he really felt.
Yeah.
It really shows to me how professional he is and how he's a master at that side of things, where a lot of directors and other creators kind of fall short. But like, I think the key thing is that to us at that time, it felt like he was not holding back. And at the most important thing with all of this coming out, it was never misleading. A lot of times, sometimes creators could put their foot in their mouth and be misleading. That isn't the case. He just has more to add on top of what he's already said.
Yeah. And basically what I want to do, if you haven't read the full interview, it's on the Hollywood Reporter. It's literally called Tony Gilroy Gives the Interview That He Couldn't. It's very great. It's a long interview. I have a bunch of quotes here I want to go through. But the first one is what you just said, JG. He said, "We were never overtly misleading, but we were being delicate." And I think that is simply a professional thing. I think that a lot of folks, especially with topics that are really intense and really related to the real world, want the most blatant thing we can do. And I think sometimes in order for art to kind of penetrate and get through things, people have to be delicate about it, because if you just hear the smash, 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 the ears get shut and you don't accept the messaging. And Gilroy and all of them, I think, did a nice job of letting the show speak for itself, as it very well did. But now he's speaking for himself as well. Where he talks about the first quote. He says, "You get out your Fascism for Dummies book for the 15 things you do, and we tried to include as many of them as we could in the most artful way possible. How are we supposed to know that this clown car in Washington was going to basically use the same book that we used?"
A lot of parallels.
Quote.
Yeah.
A lot of parallels.
What a way to go. And I think this also really tells us what we were thinking about when Andor was coming on, when we were like, do they know? Like, do they understand? And that's what a lot of questions were on the press trail of like, do you understand what's going on? And I love that Gilroy takes this moment to be like, yeah, but we were surprised still. Like, now that we know that he's as blunt about that, what do you think was going through his head as that show was coming out and they were seeing like quieting of the press and like like the villainization of the others that was coming out as the episodes were coming. Like, how surreal did that have to be?
It probably is probably super surreal, and probably was also like a little, I don't want to say worrying, but also like, oh wow, this is really like, it's for, especially for them who created it, it must have been like, oh wow, this is really on the nose. Like this is almost beat for beat. Like it must have been like a little, especially with how Disney has made some interesting business decisions and such regarding politics.
Yeah.
I wonder if there was maybe even a little bit of worry that maybe something could have happened to the show as a result of that, of how closely it was paralleling real life.
Yeah. Like there's a lot of commonality, even like I think that he saw the writing on the wall, even went back through some historical times with like the Civil Rights Act and stuff and just used some of that and just saw maybe some of this coming. But even if it didn't come, like it was so finely put into the show, you didn't actually think that some people were thinking, but I didn't put two and two together when I was watching until after I reflected. So I think he did a great job of not overly saying like, this is what's going on right this second. Just look and see, And like I said, I think he saw the writing on the wall. I mean, they're all really in tune with politics and stuff, especially when you're a high ranking or like a high profile person like Tony Gilroy. So they're aware of what's going on.
Oh yeah, and especially when you spend all those years researching. I mean, they talk extensively about how they wrote this show based on history, about how things have gone on. Like, and imagine like you're spending all those years in research, him and his brother, especially in the writers' room, like putting these things together. And when that's at the front of your mind anyway, you know, it's got to be hard to do. And you speak about, you know, not the show not being so bluntly overt and yelling at you. It's so interesting because within the show, when that happens with the Gorman representative, right, says, remember Gorman, this is happening. No one listens. Like, that is exactly what happens. He says in this interview, he says, quote, Gorman is Greenland. Gorman is anything. We want the rare earth. We want this. And now he can say it bluntly because it had the time to settle, you know? But I think he makes a good point that he's like, if I wrote a character who yelled and yelled and yelled about how no one understood something and got ignored, why would I yell and yell and yell and yell? Because that and I would get ignored. So it's like, again, it's such a fascinating headspace to be in for, I think, one of the most brilliant writers we've ever seen.
It's also interesting looking at Andor now, where we are now in American history and climate and everything. Because even at that point, I don't think we were seeing like some parallels, and we're like, oh, that's interesting. But I think even now, I think Andor is even more relevant than it's ever been. I mean, even within the past month and such, with all the ICE-related activities and such, there's a lot of Star Wars podcasts I listen to that that 3-episode arc of the Gorman Massacre, specifically that one episode and such, you can't watch that episode ever the same again without seeing what's happening in America. And it's because of the fact that history repeats itself. Like it is these cycles of fascism, as it is bluntly put, that just creeps up. Yeah.
And he talks about that. He talks about how, you know, he thinks that now, both in Andor with Palpatine is how it all starts, and now with the current issue we have now in America, he says, I think the overall goal is to stop elections and have a fascistic state. Any controversy they can make and elevate to hysterical allows them to cancel elections, which is Gorman. That's exactly what it is. Yeah. But he also makes a really interesting point, I think, to bring it back to the artistry of it all, because he's also very blunt, saying he is an artist, he's a writer, like he knows a lot about this, but the importance of art, I think, is always a debate, because there are people that think, shut up, you just make movies, and other people that say, I make movies, I'm the most important thing in the world. And I think, for my personal stake, it lies somewhere in the middle, right? But he says, beyond all that, I yearn for storytellers. I yearn for people that communicate. I'm always frustrated by politicians that I really like when they can't get their messages out. And then he goes and says, the Biden White House had a great story to tell, but they never had a messenger or any way to sell it. The Obama White House, in the end, the postmortem on that was some poor messaging about what was going on. I think the messaging is really overlooked, and controlling the narrative is really valuable. The progressive politics and democratic politics and sensible politics have failed in great measure by not having really good stories to tell and not telling them properly. And that, when I read that quote, aside from chilling me because it's very scary to think about the fact that you can be right, but if you don't have the right person saying it, oh well. I think of Cyril's mother in Andor when, after the Gorman Massacre, when they have the news reporters saying, our brave, heroic Imperials were killed and Cyril and this people were killed, and she's looking on in horror because she's getting the best messaging. The Empire wins that messaging war. Like, we know that the rebels win, but at the end of Andor season 2, the Empire wins.
Yeah.
Right? Because people like Cyril's mom, who, if there were elections, would vote and would do the stuff and has a little bit of money and has some influence on Coruscant.
Yep.
She's told this horrible stuff, and I'm like, man, it's, I don't know, this interview, it gave me the horrors all over again in a weird way, you know?
Yeah, they have the voice, like they control the narrative. They overwhelmingly have the theme to push out to everybody, whereas you don't get that messaging from the rebels, right? You don't get that. They don't have the technology. They don't have the way of getting it out to, and even if they did, would they believe him? Because there's so much around you. The Empire is so around you, telling you all these different things. Like, of course, the masses are going to believe because they're not so in tune with what's going on. They're only hearing about they're going about their day. They're going to their jobs. They're hearing this when they get home. They hear it from 30 different sources that's all saying the same thing, but they don't hear it from the right people. They don't hear it from the rebels because they can't get that message across. Yeah.
It makes me think about, looking at Minnesota and like Renee Good and stuff. You think about like everyone had phones, and like Cassian Andor didn't carry a phone that recorded everything, right? He had to just go, and you had to trust people. And the fact that now, the only reason that we know, the truth of what happened to Renee Good and Alex is that people could record it because we were get all these messages about, gunshots through car windows and things. And the fact that people were constantly recording, and that felt like such a small thing in the moment, but it goes back to like, that's how you had to know things. Like the rebels in Andor had code phrases, and that was definitive truth. And we had to know that. And that's why they were so afraid all the time, but that's all they had. And now we get to the point where, information is power. You can't stop the signal as Firefly, Serenity. That's all the way back in, the early 2000s.
Yeah.
But there's a reason that when they came into Luthen's shop, they had to destroy the communications, right? Like Clea had to make sure they couldn't communicate with the rebels because that was the most important tool of the rebellion was communication and talking, right? Luthen says the rebellion doesn't hear. It's flown away, All that is so important. And one of the things I love that Tony said about that too, and a little bit of another, I don't know if funny is the right word, but a slightly comedic way. He says, it's just sad how predictable and lame and obvious and wrong it all is. Fascism is just a total fail in the end. It eats itself up in the end. So this will have been an incredible waste of time, an incredible wasted opportunity, and an incredibly dark period in America's history. And I think that attitude is so prevalent in Andor Season 2 because you get people like Cyril, who just gets shot anonymously. You get Dedra, who goes to Narkina whatever number for the rest of her life, And at the end of the day, the Death Star gets blown up, and the Emperor falls down a shaft. Like, it's such a waste of decades of resources for nothing.
Now that you mention it, that is like years and years of waste. Yeah.
All these lives building this weapon, all these lives causing fear to build up this incalculable power. Oh, it's happening. Stopping the signal again. It's going out.
I mean, fortunately, it's getting better, and it doesn't seem that way, but it is. But it's not. Just keep maxing out. But like now that you say that, like they stripped worlds of like raw materials and basically ruined people's lives and generations of lives for nothing. That's like it's very hard to hear, really, when you put it into realistic terms.
Yeah, and I think that's the power of this storytelling in Star Wars is being like, there is a direct parallel, and I love that Gilroy was like, "Hey, all right, now here it is. You've seen it, you've interpreted it. Here's what we meant." Now that said, to bring it slightly up, because it is a hard interview because these things are still going on. He did also talk about a little Star Wars news. They asked him his opinion on it. They're like, "Hey, Tony, we gotcha. Since you did Andor, there's a new president. All these things are happening." And they asked him about Kathleen Kennedy. And they said, what are your thoughts about playing it safe, about the new regime, about, what do you do here? And he said, quote, this is the most unsurprising thing I think he said all day. If I was going to do that job, I would rather go down swinging. I'd rather go down in flames. As low risk as my life is, my creative life is pretty high risk, so I'd like to swing away. Safety has never been one of my navigational principles.
Whoa.
And hell yeah, Tony.
Go for it.
I hope so, brother. This is all specifically about the hunt for Ben Solo. They asked him about that because Soderbergh's a friend of his. Would you risk it? I don't know. This is probably a nothing softball question. Do you think Tony's opinion does anything to shift the needle on that?
Probably not.
Probably not. No.
Probably not.
Now that he's dropped the curtain and said how he felt, I don't think they're really even gonna give it much thought after this.
Yeah.
Again, though, it is so fascinating how much this movie is just in everyone's mouth in Hollywood right now. Like
it keeps coming up.
It keeps coming up.
The hottest topic out of anything right now, and it is so interesting to me.
You know what would never happen, but would be the greatest end to the story of this? It couldn't happen for many practical reasons, but you go to the Mandalorian and Grogu, and there's a trailer for the hunt for Ben Solo in front of it. Like, they just drop it.
Dude, come on.
Nothing else. I mean, I know. Like, they clearly, even if they started shooting today, they couldn't do that. But, like,
we could get a graphic.
You can get a sizzle.
Yeah.
You can get a 15-second. You can get something.
You can do a little something. Oh, God, that'd be so funny. But on the note of Mandalorian and Grogu, though, they also, the Hollywood Reporter did ask, props to them, they asked him to squash this stupid rumor about Filoni hating Andor and all this stuff, and Filoni and Favreau. So glad they just asked him on the record, because he said, quote, "We've only met a couple of times, and we've only had a half dozen conversations over the last 10 years.
Wow.
He says, seriously, I saw Jon Favreau at a scoring session once. We've always gotten along with those guys. We've never had anything but high praise for everything they've done. We only have our show because of them, and we've always said that was true. There's no Andor without the Mandalorian. It would not exist, so it has never been anything but cordial and pleasant, ever, 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 ever." So shut up, everybody, about that.
Seriously, like there does not. This is my most frustrating thing about fandom. It's the Star Wars fandom is that there always has to be a this versus this or a them versus them, and it's like Star Wars can coexist in the different flavors and textures that we have. We have Andor, we have Rebels, we have Star Wars Jedi Adventures, like. They're in Resistance. Like, we can have all of this. Like, it does not have to be an us versus them. We are all Star Wars fans. Let us all enjoy it. Like,
and the creators don't have to hate each other, even if you don't like it. Like, because you're so right, JG. The number one is the difference in media. Number two is all the homophobia and misogyny and racism.
Yes.
But number one is the fact that there's different projects that we don't like. Yeah, it's so dumb. People love the narrative that these adults who work for decades on these things just spend their time shit talking the other ones.
There's not
it's
some
so silly.
There's not some drama. There's some Housewives of Star Wars going on in the background. Everybody wants to.
Okay, but
like,
that show would be great.
that would be amazing.
Okay, hold on though.
Hold on. Let him cook.
Let him cook.
Let's get Hannah. We got to get Hannah though. All right.
They
would be awesome on that. To bring it all around, Cyril's mom.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
She would be incredible.
Yeah, I mean, there's always they always want some kind of reality series in the background. They want something that's like, they want the drama that's boiling in the background, but they keep it all together somehow to put out these movies. But I don't think it doesn't exist.
No, it truly doesn't. There's a lot of great creators. Do they all love each other? Are they all best friends? Probably not. Will Tony Gilroy ever speak to Jon Favreau again? Probably not. They're adults. You know how hard it is to speak to someone you don't work with as an adult? Why do you think we do a podcast? Like, it's hard. Okay? Get off it. But go read the Tony Gilroy interview if you haven't on the Hollywood Reporter. Really phenomenal stuff. Tony, thank you for speaking out so directly about it in a scary time for a lot of us. It really means a lot. So, love you, man. I'm going to go rewatch Andor. I'm going to be honest, it's going to be a bit. I said that. I'm like, nope.
House of Dragons coming out real soon.
Okay, that'll be. Yeah, that's a little better. Maybe I'll just rewatch Night of the Seven Kingdoms and feel a little hope in this world anyway.
Yeah.
But finally, tonight, we're not talking about Game of Thrones. We are going to lighten up a bit by calling out someone that simply had it too good for too long, Han Solo. over the weekend, Star Wars Unlimited held a regional championship competition in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, with over 700 players vying for the top prize on the way to Galactics in July. There were tons of decks that played 13 rounds over 2 days, including a couple folks from our Youtini Discord that did us proud. But one thing remained pretty consistent: Han Solo. The Han leaders from sets 1 and 2 made up over 50% of the decks that made it to the second day of competition. 13 out of the top 16, 7 out of the top 8, and the final 2. Now, granted, there were some variations here and there, but Wes, are you as ready as I am for these Han Solo leaders to finally go away in a couple weeks?
I don't know, because the Han Solo 2, I actually built a physical deck of Han Solo. I did. I've broken it up since, but I have played this deck a number of times, especially on Carabas, which is the online way to play. But I actually built this deck, and I liked it. But I didn't know how powerful it was, I guess, or I wasn't playing it right, because somebody figured out something with these Han Solo leaders, and they were just like, wait a second, this trumps this, and that, and this, and then I guess that there's tweaks here and there. You know, you got to listen to the experts, because they're the ones that know. I'm not going through 250 cards. I'm not going through thousands of cards to figure out.
There you go.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. I never played Han. It's a style that didn't get to me. Han 2, who we have up on the screen, or Han 1, who I did some looking right before the show to double check the tournament results. Han 1 was all 4 of the top 4. He was also 5th. In the top 10, there were another 2, and in the top 20, there were another 4. This guy, goofy-looking, resource cheating leader. Yeah. And for those of you that don't play Star Wars Unlimited, or people like JG who are just getting into it, why the Han Solo 1 and Han Solo 2 leaders, which are from the first 2 sets of the game, why they're so good is that they each do this thing called resource cheating. In Star Wars Unlimited, you have these things called resources you use to pay for cards. Han 1, his ability allows you to get an extra resource each turn. You have to destroy it at the end of the turn, but you get to use it for free. It's like a credit card. Han 2 allows you to bring in a unit that costs 1 less, but you have to damage it a little bit. It's like when you go to Walmart and you punch a box and you get a discount. That's what Han 2 does.
Totally.
So, both these guys very similarly let you just play the big cards sooner, which is crazy because, Wes, as you said, we got thousands of cards. Yeah. We got tons of leaders.
So,
and at the end of the day, everyone says, what if I play the big card sooner? That's it. That's the whole game.
Yeah, you're trying to get to your Hulk at the very end. So with Han 2, okay, it says, so you bring a card in and you have to deal 2 damage to it. Now, the reason that people play this deck is because there is a Grogu card that you can play. So your Grogu card heals itself. Or he can heal other cards. So you can bring in a higher tier card that costs 1 less, and then Grogu will heal those 2 that you had to put damage to, like within that turn. So you have 3 Grogus all the time in your deck. And when I was building this deck, I was having the hardest time finding Grogu because I think it's a legendary card.
It's a legendary. I have 1 of them.
Yeah, and so. I remember when I went to my first tournament, there's a guy that came by that I was playing against, and he let me go through like the cards that he didn't want, and there were Grogus in there, and I was like, "Are you sure?" He's like, "Yeah, man, I have a whole bunch of these," and I was like, "I'm gonna take 2," and he was like,
"Yes,
all right." I was like, "Okay," so like instead of paying $15 a card, $10 a card to get those sent to you, then you can get. So if you go to these tournaments or you go to like
community's great.
Yeah, you go to these hobby shops, people will be like, you know what? You're trying to build this deck? I got a couple for you. And you just, I'm sure they'll ask for a trade or something, or maybe not. Maybe it'll be super nice, like the guy that gave me those 2 Grogus.
It's crazy to me that with the dozens of leaders and thousands of other cards, that there isn't a counter to it. Like, that's just crazy to me that is like the quote unquote meta, and that this was so prominent and strong to have, that dominance in that tournament.
Yeah. And I have seen meta shifts as I've been playing the game. I played Yoda, was my guy. He was 3rd, I guess, behind these 2 guys. He made a couple appearances in the top decks. But the fact, like you said, there are 16 leaders per set, and there's 5 sets out right now, so that's 80 leaders available right now. And 2 of them were 13 out of the top 16 or whatever. Like, there's a way to do it. Obviously, they work really well in certain scenarios. But I'm hoping that after rotation now, this resource cheating is going to be a little different. Because hilariously, the next set, Lawless Time, a lot of cards give you credits, which is just resource cheating. So it's all resource cheating. Bundle of Owls, though, in the chat does make a good point. The meta for Star Wars Unlimited is still way more diverse compared to a lot of other TCGs.
I've heard that.
So it's still a great time to get into it. Pre-release is coming up in just a couple weeks. At the end of next week, we're going to get the new set. I can't wait for it. I'm really excited about it. But I guess
I'll put
the
up
problem.
I'll put up the.
What are you doing? What are you putting up?
What it looks like. What
Oh, yeah,
what
okay.
everybody's playing.
Here are the standings for the Milwaukee Regional. Out of 700 decks, here's the top 20. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 Han Yellows, which are the exact same deck. 9 of the 20 are the exact same. And then there's like...
There's your Yoda.
There's
Yoda
some
sprinkled in there.
There's a couple Yodas in there, and there's some Han 2s. But that's it. And all of these leaders are rotating out. So the good news is that after next week, these official tournaments, all this is going to be new. Like, every single one of these leaders is gone. And we looked actually on the second day within our Discord. We talked about this a lot in our Unlimited channel. 85% of the leaders that made it to the day 2, which is the big day, are leaders that are going to be gone in a week and a half. So who knows what the game's going to be?
Yeah,
a lot of potential. Hopefully there's a lot of experimentation. I don't like mirror matches, which are what you call when the same deck faces the same deck and they both just do the same thing. They're really boring to watch and boring to play. But I guess if I had to ask you guys, Wes is a player and JG is a player that's coming in here. What do you hope for moving forward? If we're getting out of this Han, and yes, there is another Han leader coming for the next set. I don't think he's nearly as good as these two, which is nice. What do you want for the future of Star Wars Unlimited once we get past Han Solo?
I obviously want some variety, but I think once Han and these decks get shown the door, somebody's gonna find something else, and it's gonna dominate, and you're gonna see I don't know, IG-88 on there or something that takes over.
Now.
Probably not. Probably not. But like maybe like Kylo Ren, maybe Yoda,
Yeah.
maybe Yoda takes over, right? Because Yoda's gonna be in there for a while, isn't it? Because that's a
No, Yoda's gone.
Is he really?
Yoda's gone too.
Oh.
No, your face. He's so
First
excited.
3 sets, man. Anakin's gone. Gar Saxon's gone.
Sabe's gone.
Sabe's in. Sabe's staying.
Sabe's in. I like that.
Sabe's
deck.
in. He's real good. Yeah, you do. You've been doing pretty well with that in the Swootini League. Which, by the way, I don't think I mentioned that in a while here. We got a Swootini League, which are folks in our Discord, staff and non that play together online. And Wes, you've been doing pretty good with that Sabe deck. How are you feeling?
I've liked the Sabe deck. I think it's overpowered just from my opinion anyways, but it's probably not just by the way I play it. But I have to play Michael Fry probably in 45 minutes. And I'm going to play the Sabe deck, and I think he's going to destroy me. But
okay, well, we'll know. We'll let you all know.
Yeah, I'll see how far
I
get. We'll see how far I get with it.
Yeah. I will say the one thing I want off of the Han meta, I will send in the chat here, I want credit tokens to work well enough that people get to play their big cards in whatever deck you're playing. The games that I had the most fun with are the ones that go a little longer, not crazy long. Like I don't need 14 resources, but if I pay for the big cards or I pull an 8 resource, I want to play it. Like that's fun. It's cool. I want to build and have a lot of interaction back and forth, and have a variety of different play styles emerge, and have a lot of people have possibilities. Like when I was at the planetary qualifier a couple weeks ago, I played a Chancellor Palpatine flipping blue deck, and I've never seen that before, and it sucked to play against, but it was fun because I had no idea what it was. Like that kind of stuff is cool. So I hope we get a little bit of that.
There's a Kylo Ren deck that I added to my 4 decks for the Swootini League, and it is all like large, hefty cards that are like 9s, 10s, 11s.
Oh yeah, I know it well.
I went through it and I was like, how do I even get there? Like the most that I've played is probably like a 6-7. That 6-7. I can't believe I said it. How about that, kids? But like it's like the highest that I've gotten. I don't think I've ever like played a card that's 8 or 9 or 10. I don't think I've ever gotten that far. So
they're pretty cool.
Yeah, it'd be nice.
They're pretty cool. That 9-drop Bo-Katan is a staple in my Yoda decks, and every deck going forward, I'll put that in because it is fun to hit.
My desire, I guess, would be you guys have hinted on it like variety and such, but I guess seeing that this early on, there's always going to be that chance to have something be dominant and be the quote unquote meta and such. But I would want them to kind of learn from that and maybe really try to push towards like quote unquote a rock paper scissors type thing where like there's a deck that is strong, but there's a deck that beats that, and then there's a deck that beats that. And so obviously, again, that's going to be so hard when you're, making a living trading card game, a game that is always going to have so many players that are looking to exploit every single element of it. And so it's going to be hard. You're going to find those Han Solo decks, that Yoda deck. But I just hope that there is a little bit more emphasis maybe and a little bit more purpose and attention to allowing more decks to shine.
Yep.
Options.
Completely agree.
We need
yeah.
options.
Yes. There's always going to be the strong ones. And they're going to crack them. But, man, have some options. Have some fun. I think it's a great time to jump into Star Wars Unlimited. Jumping into a game right at rotation is fun because everyone's learning. And if you haven't yet, check out the local game stores around you guys for next weekend. They're going to be having pre-release events. This is where you pay usually about $30. You get to build a deck on the night. You get 6 packs. People are there learning together. They're very helpful. And you get to kind of check it out and dive into the game. So I'm doing at least 2. I think only 2. As we've been talking, my local shop Discord is talking about adding another one, so we'll see.
One thing,
but I'm very excited about that.
One thing that I really do like, and especially because this Han one pulled up, is that if you're getting into it, and they take cards away, you're still using decks and cards from back when it the first decks that you can use started. So like when a new set comes out, everything's not just completely blown up and you have to go get all these new cards from the new set, right? Even the ones from like series or sets that happened months before are still viable and are still
4, 5,
meta
and 6
cards.
are still going to be viable. So 1, 2, and 3 are going away, but 4, 5, and 6 are there. There's also a face. Oh my goodness. Oh God.
I agree.
Gotta make it look good.
Yeah.
We're so close. We're so close, internet. Come on. Wes, who's your wireless provider?
Stay on target.
Fidium Fiber. Listen, Fidium Fiber. I'm gonna be switching to the guys next door that just dug up my yard about like 6 months ago. Easy Fiber's coming in, and we're gonna have a new set here next week. If you don't fix this week,
get ready. If you want to sponsor the show, let us know. We need to buy cards. All right. Well, on that note, everybody, we're very excited for that. Let us know in the comments if you're getting some pre-releases, if you read Tony Gilroy's interview, or if you like that Mandalorian and Grogu trailer. We want to know it all. And let us know if you think Wes is going to win with his Sabe deck in about half an hour. But other than that, my friends, that is going to do it for this week's episode of the Youtini Show. Thanks so much for hanging out and chatting some Star Wars with us. We love it every single week. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and give us reviews on the podcast platforms. I haven't said that in like 2 years, but do it. It really does help. We will see you next week with all that's going on in the Star Wars universe. Until then, head over to Youtini.com, follow us on the socials, be good to each other, stay safe, and as always, may the Force be with you.